for ye shall be a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts. Last Sunday, I started a series entitled They Got Next. This series is an interactive series pertaining to the investment in the next generation. We want to invest in the next generation so that they don't feel as if they have to climb high just to get to the bottom. And today, I want to talk about my giving affects the next generation. Tell the person beside you, how I give affects the next generation. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Ushers, if there's anybody on the outside waiting to get on the inside, you can let them in at this particular moment in time. How I give affects the next generation. Never before in the history of our country, of the United States of America, have the citizens of the U.S. been so divided over a presidential election. Just this past Tuesday, November the 8th, 2016, all of us had the privilege, the pleasure, and the honor of watching the votes come in the race to 270 electoral college votes. And just this past Tuesday, November the 8th, 2016, it was announced that Donald Trump is in fact the 45th president of the United States of America. Our country is divided at this particular moment in time. On one hand, there are several people who are absolutely happy, several people who are absolutely excited about the election of Donald Trump as the 45th president of the United States of America. At the same time, on the other hand, there were several people who were agitated, frustrated, irritated, angry, hurt, and confused all at the same time. So much to the point, it is quite interesting to note, never before in the history of our country, after they announced to us the next president of the United States of America, have people been so frustrated that they took it to the streets and protested, not just that night, but they took it to the streets and they protested in days to come and the days thereafter. People were so frustrated that they protested in Birmingham, Alabama. People were so frustrated that they protested in Portland, Oregon. People were so frustrated that they protested in front of Trump Towers at New York City. People were so frustrated that they protested in Chicago, Illinois. People were so frustrated that they protested in Atlanta, Georgia. People were so frustrated that they protested in Miami, Florida. People were so frustrated they didn't just take it to the streets to protest, but have you not considered that over 500,000 people protested via social media when it is that they signed a petition on Facebook for the specific purpose of revoking the presidency of the United States of America and president-elect by the name of Donald Trump? The question has to be raised, why are people frustrated? The question has to be raised, why are people confused? So many people are confused as to how it is that a man who mocks people who are mentally challenged is fit enough in 2016 to lead our country. So many people are frustrated, agitated, irritated, hurt, angry, and confused all at the same time because they're trying to figure out how it is that a man who brags about cheating on his wife and going after other women who are married themselves is fit enough to run our country in 2016. Regardless of how you feel about it, I know some are excited, but others of us are frustrated, agitated, and irritated all at the same time because you're trying to figure out how it is that a man, ladies and gentlemen, named Donald Trump can become the 45th president of the United States of America when he's against African Americans, or at least makes statements that are not in favor of African Americans. People are frustrated, agitated, irritated, black, white, green, yellow, all at the same time because so many people are trying to figure out how it is that a man who does not think before he speaks, how it is that this man is fit enough to become the 45th president of the United States of America. Can I pause to give regress to the events that have taken place just this past week since the election on Tuesday, November the 8th of 2016? The issue that I have this morning, ironically, is not with Donald Trump. I'm going to say that again. The issue that I have this morning, ironically, is not with Donald Trump. I have no issue with Donald Trump because all of you know, even if you don't want to admit it, Donald Trump is going to be Donald Trump, and Donald Trump at his best self at this particular moment in time is a fool. And all of us know that the Bible declares in Proverbs chapter number 29, starting with verse number 11, that a fool says whatever is on his mind, but a wise man holds it until later. Does he fit that description? You think I'm making an opinion. I'm just telling you what the Bible says. The Bible says that a fool says whatever is on his mind, but a wise man holds it until later. Ironically, the issue that I have is not with Donald Trump. Ironically, the issue that I have this morning is not even with Hillary Clinton, because on one hand, Donald Trump is a fool. On the other hand, Hillary Clinton is a liar. And the Bible declares in Proverbs chapter number 29, starting with verse number 9, that whoever speaks lies will receive their punishment. But the issue that I have this morning is not with foolish Donald Trump. It is not with lying Hillary Clinton. When you put them both together, you get a lying fool all at the same time. But the issue that I have this morning is with the misguided anger of the protesters in the United States of America. You are protesting Donald Trump, who's the 45th president of the United States of America. But if you really want to be mad at somebody this morning, don't get mad at Donald Trump. If you really want to be mad at somebody this morning, don't get mad at Hillary Clinton. But if you really want to be mad at somebody this morning, be mad at the 99,215,112 citizens of the United States of America who were registered to vote but still did not vote. If you really want to be mad at somebody this morning, don't express your anger by marching inside of the streets. But if you really want to be mad at somebody this morning, express your anger by marching in front of the homes of the 99,015,112 citizens of the United States of America who were registered to vote but still did not vote. How can you not vote when our ancestors struggled for you to have the right to vote? How can you not vote when our ancestors died for you to have the right to vote? How can you not vote when our ancestors sacrificed so much to the point that they were whipped, they were spit on, they were beaten, they were mocked, they were puked, they were scorned, that you might be able to have the right to vote? How can you not vote when our ancestors allowed themselves to be bitten by dogs and our ancestors allowed themselves to be sprayed by hoses? And you mean to tell me you got the nerve to march in somebody's streets? If you really want to be mad this morning, don't get mad at Donald Trump, who's a fool. Don't get mad at Hillary Clinton, who's a liar. When you put them both together, you got a lying fool all at the same time. But if you really want to get mad this morning, you need to be mad at the 99,215,112 Americans who were eligible to vote but did not vote all at the same time. I have no issue with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a fool, and all throughout the Bible I have seen God use even fools. I have no issue with Hillary Clinton this morning because Hillary Clinton is a liar, and all throughout the Bible I have seen God even use liars. Is there anybody in here under the sound of my voice who can attest to the reality that everybody that God used in the canon of Scripture had some kind of flaw and had some kind of issue, had some kind of fault, and had some kind of failure? Is there anybody in here who knows this morning that if God can use Moses, who's a murderer with a speech impediment, that if God can use David, who's an adulterer and a murderer, that if God can use Solomon, who's a polygamist, that if God can use loudmouth cussing Peter, who cut the ear off to the servant of the high priest when they came to take Jesus, if God can use Noah, who's a drunk, and if God can use Paul, who's formerly known as Saul, he persecuted the church, but as Paul, he became one of God's greatest ambassadors. It doesn't matter who's in office, whether it's a fool or a liar. I came to tell somebody, put it up so everybody can see it, and I hope you don't tear the church up. Regardless of who's in office, God is in control. God Almighty, I thought I'd get a witness right there. Is there anybody in here who knows this morning that regardless of who's in office, that God is in control? Somebody shout, God is in control. I dare you to shout it to East Lake, Brown Springs, and Gate City. Everybody on the east side hears you this morning. Somebody shout that God is in control. He's so much in control that the Bible declares that he holds the heart of the king inside of his hands, and he's able to take it and turn it whatsoever way that he will. He's so much in control that the Bible declares that even though we have earthly kings, he's the king of all kings. He's so much in control that the Bible declares that even though we have landlords on earth, he's the Lord of all lords. Is there anybody in here? I pray you don't tear the church up this morning, but I dare you to take just 30 seconds and celebrate the reality this morning that it doesn't matter who's in office, God is in control. And because God is in control, I don't care if a fool is in office, I still got favor on my life. Because God is in control, I don't care if a liar is in office, I still got favor on my life. That because God is in control, I don't care who's in office, I still got the blessings of God. I'm still the head and not the tail. I'm still above and not beneath. I'm still the lender and not the borrower. I'm still ahead and not behind. Somebody shout, God is in control. I dare you to shout it one more time. Somebody shout, God is in control. Regardless of who's in office, God is in control. What amazes me is not the presidential election. What amazes me is how Donald Trump won. I'm not amazed that he won, but I'm amazed at how he won this past Tuesday on November the 8th, 2016, and became the 45th president of the United States of America. That really doesn't mean much to you until you come to the understanding. When you vote for the president, there are two different kinds of votes. Number one, you have the popular vote, which happens to be the vote of the people. That's the vote that you casted at the polls. That's the vote that I casted at the polls. And after we casted that vote, we did a screenshot and we put it on Facebook and we showed that sticker on our left chest that says, I voted, I voted, I voted. That's the popular vote. But it's not just the popular vote that determines as to whether or not somebody gets put into office. The second kind of vote is, in fact, the vote of the Electoral College. Every state has a certain amount of Electoral College votes. And according to the popular vote, it dictates how the voters of the Electoral College vote and who it is that they vote for. So even though you have a popular vote on one hand, the most effective vote is not the popular vote, but the most effective vote is the vote of the Electoral College. I'm going to say that again. Let me back it on up like a U-Haul truck this morning. Even though you have a popular vote on one hand, the most effective vote is not the popular vote. The most effective vote is the vote of the Electoral College. Can I pause to tell somebody that this series that we are in at this particular moment in time is called They Got Next. It is an interactive series that involves investing in the next generation so they don't feel as if they have to climb high just to get to the bottom. But if in fact we are going to win the next generation, you got to make up inside of your mind, I'm not trying to be popular. But if in fact we are going to win the next generation, put it up so everybody can see it, you got to make up inside of your mind, I'd rather be effective. Because what I've come to the understanding of is that it's highly possible to be popular and still not be effective all at the same time. Y'all ain't gonna help me preach this thing, but I'm gonna preach it anyhow. I've come to the understanding it is highly possible to be popular and still not be effective all at the same time. The problem with popularity is that you spend all of your life trying to please people. You try to please people so you can get a pat on the back. You try to please people so that somebody can encourage you publicly. You're trying to please people so that somebody can say, you sure did a good job. But when you are trying to be effective and not popular, you make up inside of your mind, I ain't trying to please people. They ain't wake me up this morning. They didn't start me on my way. They didn't give me a reasonable portion of health and strength. They didn't give me the activity of my limbs. So instead of me pleasing people, that's trying to be popular, I'd rather be effective, and I've learned to strive to please God. Is there anybody in here under the sound of my voice that in 2016, as this year closing out, your greatest prayer to God is that, Lord, I just want to please you in everything that I do. I want to please you not just when I'm in the sanctuary. I want to please you when I leave the sanctuary and I feel like cussing somebody out. I want to please you not just when I'm in the sanctuary. I want to please you when I leave the sanctuary and I feel like laying unholy hands on somebody. Is there anybody in here who's made up inside of your mind that the reason I'm through trying to be popular and pleasing people is because I've tried several times and I've learned that no matter what you do, you still can't please people? Oh, shucks, it's getting ready to get tight. I've learned that personally. Have you not considered? I'm married, I'm 34 years of age, I have 7 children. And when I found myself in high school, I was the last person out of all of my friends to pick which college I was getting ready to go to. So everybody was putting pressure on me. What college you getting ready to go to? And I didn't have a choice. But when I finally told everybody I'm going to Kentucky State University to be a thoroughbred, why you want to pick that college? When I finally got to Kentucky State University, what's going to be your major? When I majored in biology, why you gotta pick that major? When I got ready to graduate from college, when are you going to medical school? When I decided not to go to medical school, but I decided God put it upon my heart to be in ministry for the rest of my life, and I went to seminary school and came back to Birmingham, Alabama, when I had a free scholarship in Atlanta, Georgia to go to ITC, and it never had any debt and never had any student loan, but God said, go back and sit at the feet of your grandfather. Everybody wanted to know why you want to be a preacher for the rest of your life. Don't you know that preachers don't make any money, but look at God taking care of me. I ain't dependent on what everybody else is dependent on. I'm dependent upon God himself. Then they started to ask the question, when you gonna get married? When I finally married my wife, then they asked, why you married her? Out of all of the people you can marry, you found somebody who already had 3 children. Then they asked the question, when y'all gonna start having children? Now that I'm 34 years of age, I'm married and we got 7 children, why y'all keep having all them children? Is there anybody in here who knows this morning you can never please people? And because I can't please people, I made up inside of my mind, God didn't call me to be popular, but he called me to be effective. Somebody shout, I'd rather please God. Somebody shouted again, I'd rather please God. I ain't expect y'all to push me like this at 9 a.m. in the morning. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head this morning, but sometimes when you come in here and you think it's going to go one way, God flips it on you, and you just got to let the Spirit have his way. Somebody shout, I'd rather. Woo! I feel it. I feel him in this place. It's possible to be popular and still not be effective. When it comes to investing in the next generation so that they don't have to climb high just to get to the bottom, I cannot invest in the next generation if I don't give. And when I give, in order for me to invest in the next generation, I cannot give to a church, I've got to give through a church. I'm going to say that again. When I give, in order for me to invest in the next generation, I cannot give to a church, I've got to give through a church. And so what all of us need to understand pertaining to investing in the next generation concerning my giving is that giving is not a popular message for me to talk about in the church. But for where we getting ready to go, even though giving is not popular for me to talk about in the church, I ain't trying to be popular this morning. I'm trying to be effective. I know you ain't see me coming around the mountain when I come, but I'm right here where I need to be at this particular moment in time. I'm going to say it again. Giving is not a popular message inside of the church. But even though giving is not a popular message inside of the church, I'm not trying to be popular. Somebody shout, I'd rather be effective. The question has to be raised. One reason that many people don't give is because they want to know, where is the money going to? Because after all, you said, Pastor Beavers, you are not giving to a church, you are giving through a church. We have a vision at our church. I shared it this past Sunday. I hope you don't get tired of me sharing it, because just when you're tired of me sharing it, somebody is just now getting it for the first time. Within our P154 vision, we have a vision of ministry, of investing in the next generation by developing developing our community. When I talk about community development, I'm talking about how we develop people, because communities are people and not buildings. We develop people in 6 ways. It really doesn't mean that you don't need a building, but I think your vision dictates the kind of building that you need. We develop people in 6 ways. We do it through education, financial literacy, workforce development, housing, recreation, and the church. Everybody repeat after me. Education, financial literacy, workforce development, housing, recreation, and the church. We intentionally chose these 6 areas because when you think about the community that you choose to live in and not where you have to live, you are making decisions directly or indirectly based upon these 6 areas. First thing you want to know when you get ready to move and put your stake into a community, especially if you have kids, is what are the school systems like? That's the educational question. Then you want to ask this question, what are the financial institutions like? Or do we only have payday loan places inside of this community, and our community has a ton of payday loan places? Then you ask the question, is there a viable workforce in the community? Is there some kind of place that I can get some kind of skills to make a sustainable living? That's workforce development. Then you ask the question, does the community have adequate housing? Somebody say adequate housing. Regardless of our ethnic background, economical background, our race, our gender, our creed, or even our color, everybody deserves the right to equal and adequate housing. Then the recreational question is this: what is there to do inside of the community? Nobody wants to live somewhere where there's no place to go. Nobody wants to live somewhere where there's no place to shop, where there's no place to eat, because most of the time when people act out, it is not because they're bad, it's because they're bored. I'm going to say that again. Most of the time when we sin and we fall short of the glory of God, it's not because we're bad, it's because we're bored. Last but not least, the last but most important question you ask is, where am I getting ready to worship? I've got to ask that question because there are some problems education can't fix. I've got to ask that question because there are some problems that money can't fix. I've got to ask that question because there are some problems that a job can't fix. I've got to ask that question because there are some problems that a house can't fix. I've got to ask that question because there are some problems, ladies and gentlemen, recreation can't fix. Somebody shout, only Jesus can fix it. Our church has efforts in all 6 of these areas. So when we talk about moving to the Century Plaza property that is 750,000 square feet, 62 acres, 4,200 parking spaces, not even a mile from where it is that we are at this particular moment in time, this is not about getting a bigger building. This is not about becoming the next mega church in the United States of America. This is all about turning a dilapidated community into a developed community for the specific purpose of investing in the next generation so they don't feel like I gotta climb high just to get to the bottom. So our church is 63,000 square feet. Many people have been asking you, what y'all need with all that building? We don't need all that building, but we do need all this vision for the building. So the plan is to use 200 to 250,000 square feet inside of the building to build our church and our school out, then partner with other organizations in Birmingham, Alabama, whose visions intersect in 5 out of the 6 of those areas. I want to partner with other people who are doing education, financial literacy, workforce development, housing, recreation, to build state-of-the-art locations alongside of us inside of that building to continue to bring vitality back to the east side of Birmingham, Alabama. And even though we got people in South Carolina giving to the vision, even though we have investors from all over the country giving to this vision, watch this, God helps a child who has his own. Everybody else can't give to it and we don't give to it. Everybody else can't give and invest in order to make it happen, and we don't give and invest in order to make it happen. This is the reason I'm so glad this morning when I was putting together this message, God told me it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because our scripture this morning is from Malachi chapter number 3, verses 10 through 12. This scripture talks about tithing. For this kind of vision, you can't just give one time on Sacrificial Giving Sunday. But for this kind of vision, you've got to be given all year long. And here's the blessing. The blessing is that when I give not to a church, but through a church and invest in the next generation so they don't have to climb high just to get to the bottom, the blessing is that God blesses me for it, which makes it a no-brainer. You mean to tell me that I'm not giving to a church, I'm giving through a church, and by me giving through a church, I'm investing in the next generation, not to give them a handout, but a hand up, and God's going to bless me all at the same time for doing so? Somebody shout, it's a no-brainer. Malachi is the writer of our text. I got a little while this morning and I'm getting ready to raise up. He's the writer of our text at this particular moment in time. He's a minor prophet inside of the Old Testament. And when he writes the book of Malachi, he's not writing to membership, he's writing to leadership. He has nothing encouraging to say to leadership. This is the equivalent of Malachi going to a pastor's conference and not preaching an encouraging message to pastors like, won't he do it? This is the equivalent of Malachi going to a pastor's conference of pastors who've been downtrodden, fighting inside of the church all year long, can't get nothing done. And Malachi doesn't tell them, that's all right, go back, it's going to be all right. But what he does is rebuke the leadership. He rebukes the leadership according to Malachi chapter number 1, verses 6 through 7. He rebukes the priests for giving sick and polluted offerings to the temple. In other words, they were giving, but they were giving God what's left instead of what's right. They were giving, but they were not tithing. They were giving, but they were not giving God their best. And because they were not giving God their best, he does not talk to the membership, but according to Malachi chapter number 2, verse 1, he's speaking to the priest who happens to be in leadership. Because Malachi knows that if I want to fix the problem, I don't have to deal with the membership because the membership is only following the leadership. If I want to fix the problem, I got to deal with it at a head, and I got to talk to the leadership, which says to all of us, ladies and gentlemen, that if the church has a giving problem, the problem is not in the membership, it's in the leadership. I'm going to say that again. If the church has a giving problem, it's never a problem in the membership, it's in the leadership, which says to all of us, when membership gives right, they will only give right when they see leadership give right. Shucks, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. Now, membership will only give right when they see the leadership give right. So what does Malachi say? He says in Malachi chapter number 3, starting with verse number 10, this is how we're going to finance the vision. We're not dependent upon the government to finance this vision. He says this is how we're getting ready to finance the vision. We're not dependent upon the world to finance this vision. He says, this is how we're going to finance the vision. He says, I got a great big vision, but the money is inside of our pockets. I just need us to give it. He says, bring ye not some, but all of the tithe into the storehouse. Storehouse is the old-time equivalent to the modern-day church, that there may be meat in my house. Tithe is 10% of all of my increase. If I make $1, I give God 10 cents. If I make $100, I give God $10. If I make $200, I give God $20. It's not equal giving, but it's equal percentage. So if all of us are tithing, even if I tithe with $1 and you tithe with $10, you can't frown your nose down on me, and I can't look at you as if you way up here and I'm way down here, because everybody gave the same thing, proportionate to the tithe. Somebody shout the tithe. He says we finance the vision through tithing. He says bring all the tithe. Every time I get paid, automatically off the top, I'm giving God what belongs to him. That's 10%. That's not a one-time-a-year thing. That's all year long. And if you come on this Wednesday, I got something for all my Old Testament Christians. Tithing in the Old Testament. Us don't do that in the New Testament. You don't even realize that God established tithing before he ever established the law. So when people talk about tithing being an Old Testament law, what do you have to say to the point that Abraham tithed to Melchizedek before there ever was a law in the first place? Woo, I feel it this morning. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it on me. I feel it on me. So what that says to all of us is that membership gives right when leadership gives right, not when we give to a church, but through a church, and there's blessings for us doing it. Somebody shout, what's the blessing? 4 blessings, and I'm getting ready to raise up. Blessing number 1, every pure-hearted tither lives under an open heaven. Everybody repeat that after me. Every pure-hearted tither lives under an open heaven. He says, bring all the tithe into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts. He says, put me to the test. All throughout the Bible, God is testing his people. This is the only place in the Bible where God gives us permission to test him. He says, put me to the test and see if I won't open the windows of heaven. Every pure-hearted tither lives under an open heaven. Somebody shout, the heavens are open when my heart is pure and when I tithe. Now watch this. All of us live under the heaven. But just because I live under the heaven does not mean that the heaven is open to me. The heaven is only open to me when I give God my tithe. Somebody shout, my tithe. Blessing number 2, every pure-hearted tither experiences God's divine overflow. Everybody repeat after me. Every pure-hearted tither experiences God's divine overflow. He says, put me to the test. Try me and see if I won't take care of you. When you're trying to figure out, should I tithe or should I cover this? Should I cover this or should I tithe? God says, put me to the test. See if I won't open the windows of heaven. That's an open heaven. Here's the overflow. Pour you out blessings you don't have room enough to receive. That sounds like overflow to me. He said, I'm a pour you out blessings you don't have room enough to receive. Which means that God's not just going to give me what I need. He's going to give me more than what I need, that I might be able to be a blessing to the entire world and those around me. Somebody shout, I got to have that kind of blessing. Somebody say it again. I got to have that kind of blessing. Which means when I experience God's divine overflow, the people connected to me ought to be glad to be connected to me, because even if they don't tithe, they catch the overflow of my blessing. Some people are blessed even though they don't tithe, just because they connected to you. But why reap the overflow of somebody else's blessings when you can have your own overflow yourself? Does everybody hear what I'm saying? Blessing number 3, every pure-hearted tither experiences God's divine protection. Everybody say, God's divine protection. Malachi chapter number 3, verse number 11, he says, when you tithe, this is what I'm getting ready to do, all sucky. He says, I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. You don't know when to shout because you don't know who the devourer is. The Bible says in 1 Peter chapter number 5, starting with verse number 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking who he may devour. Somebody shout, the devil is the devourer. Somebody say, Satan is the devourer. In other words, God says, when you tithe, although there's some stuff that Satan wants to do to you in order to destroy you, the only reason it does not affect you like that, God says, I'm holding him back because of your tithe. He says, you don't even realize Satan tried to wipe you out a long time ago, but the only reason you are still here and he did not get the best of you, he says, I'm rebuking the devourer and I'm holding him back just because of my tithe. God Almighty, I hear somebody speaking, Pastor Beavers, I'm tithing and I still can't catch a break. I'm tithing and I still can't get ahead. Don't you know that the old people said, he don't just keep me from danger seen. He keeps me from danger seen and unseen. You tithing and you think you can't catch a break, but what about all of the stuff you ain't see coming your way that God kept Satan away from you just because of your tithe? Blessing number 4, and I'm getting ready to raise up. Every pure-hearted tither, everybody say pure-hearted tither, models the blessed life to the world. Everybody say models the blessed life to the world. Malachi chapter number 3, verse number 12, he says, when you tithe, you will be a delightsome land, and all nations shall call you blessed. I'm going to say it again. When you tithe, you'll be a delightsome land, Israel, and all nations, not just friendly nations, enemy nations. Yeah. Somebody say all nations. Yeah, not just your allies, but even your haters have got to call you blessed. God says, I'm going to put such a blessing upon you when you tithe. You're going to be working with some people who can't stand you. And one day they're going to get bold enough and get that do it fluid inside of them and admit to you, you know what, I can't stand you. But even though I can't stand you, I can't deny that God is blessing you. Yeah, I can't stand you, but I cannot deny that the hand of God is on your life. I can't stand you, but I cannot deny that God is moving in your life. I can't stand you, but I cannot deny that God is working inside of your life. Giving is not a popular message. But this morning, I'm not trying to be popular. I'm trying to be effective. I'm not asking you to give to a church. Let me see if I got a good class. What I'm asking you to do, give what? Somebody say through a church. I want you to give through a church as an investment in the next generation, that we may turn our dilapidated community into a developed community. We're not trying to be popular, not trying to be the what's happening church on the block, but somebody shout, we shall be effective. Everybody stand to your feet, everybody.